Mr. Sedikan, who's usually repeating after. Need to raise your. I, Omar Sedikan,
I, Omar Sedikan,
do hereby affirm that
do hereby affirm that
I will speak the truth,
I will speak the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
So help me Allah.
So help me Allah.
I, by Bitay,
I, by Bitay,
do hereby affirm that
do hereby affirm that
I will
I will speak the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
So help me.
So help me Allah.
I, Jabuge,
I, Jabuge,
do hereby affirm that
do hereby affirm that
I will speak the truth,
I will speak the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
So help me.
So help me Allah.
I was here, but I didn't take any information.
I, George Jatta,
I, George Jatta,
do hereby affirm that
do hereby affirm that
I will speak the truth,
I will speak the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
So help me.
So help me God.
The alpha. I, Alhaji Dabo,
I, Alhaji Dabo,
do hereby affirm that
do hereby affirm that
I will speak the truth,
I would speak the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
So help me.
So help me Allah.
Thank you very much. I've been taking that affirmations. We can now proceed. And in doing so, and there were thorough review by members, the Auditor General, as well as the subject matter specialists, before we can adopt. There are issues that were highlighted in the management letter and noted that we should put forward for clarification. And the committee noted that the auditor opined that the financial statement of National Road Authority present fairly in all material respect the financial position of the authority, and that the statements were being prepared using the local generally acceptable accounting principle and the best accounting practice as well. That the financial statements were prepared with the requirements of the NRA Act 2003 and all other applicable prevailing laws in the Gambia. On the basis of that, the committee has decided to consider the report but before we do so for final adoption, the issues that were highlighted in the management letter and other financial issues, the members will be asking questions for clarifications. Activities that were also highlighted in the activity report, members also will be asking questions surrounding those activities for clarification. We noted improvement regarding the fund that was accrued by the committee, and to indicate that we have attack analysis to that. The National Road Authority for 2020 has a profitable and used asset at its disposal. The result of showing the operations a surplus of 144 million is considered an improvement compared to 56.265 million for the previous year, that is 2029. The following ratios also were observed. That is, for the net profit margin is 15%, and return on assets at 5%, debt total equity ratio 3%, equity multiplier 103%, return on equity 36%, and debt to asset ratio 3%. The authority was able to generate enough cash to finance its operation during 2020, registering a net cash flow of 250 million 095 million compared to the previous year 34 million 901, that is 2019. We noted that the authority has healthy cash bank balances maintained with the central bank, which amounted to 126 million 455, and then 28 million 546, representing 43.68% and 75.02% for 2020 and 2029 respectively. We also noted that the only account available for management is Central Bank Administration and Management account, and which was funded in 2020 with 155 million 918, and in 2020, which was at only 209,908 million rather. The initial number was 155,918 million compared to 2,908 million for 2020 and 2020, which is considered to be an improvement on the side of the authority. However, as I said earlier on, despite this improvement, we still have some queries or concern in the management letter, and which I will now allow my committee members to go through the management letter to pose those questions to you for clarification. Honorable members, the floor is now open. Remember, we have two separate booklets for the finances, and then the third one is for the management or the activity report. The floor is now open, honorable members. I lead. On the management letter, the first point of concern is surrounding the governance. And on the governance, at the level of the board, lapses are noted, which are considered to be serious lapses ranging from high priority. Board requests for information not provided by management are issues that were raised in the management letter. Management meetings are to be documented with minutes, but these were not issues. These were issues that did not take place and were raised as concern by the auditor. The internal auditor noted that the audit should have work plan approved by the board, and that there is and that not sit in any management committee as pointed out by the auditor. That is the auditor himself. That is the internal auditor. And the internal audit department should report directly to the board or the audit committee, and that there should develop a risk register to cover all the areas of the auditory. So these were issues that were highlighted regarding the internal audit, which we will request that you respond to those issues that were highlighted in the audit report regarding the internal audit.
Honorable Chair of the board. Now, in response, I'm now talking in terms of as the chair of the board, I was not the chair actually at the time. I joined the board last year in 2021. Nevertheless, I take responsibility for what has happened before my tenure on the board. This issue about the internal audit plan has been highlighted in the audit management letter, and we take it seriously. this issue about not only about the plan itself, but also in terms of the reporting of the internal auditor to the board. It has been discussed extensively in the new board, and the board has resolved that from henceforth that the internal auditor will be submitting reports to the finance and audit committee of the board, who will then prepare a report which will be submitted at the level of the board. So we are aware of this issue to do with the internal auditor, not only about the plan, but also in terms of the reporting lines. And I can assure you that the new board has taken on board the comments of the auditor, and this will be these deficiencies or these shortcomings will be rectified. Thank you.
Yes, we believe that he should be completely independent to what management is doing, because he is the eyes and the ears of the board. So his independence and objectivity could be compromised if he sits in loan committees deciding who should approve loans, because the other side of the coin is that when there is a query on any loan that may have to come up at a later date, he would be the person to be relied upon by the board to make an investigation. So if he was part of the process to issue that loan, then there is no independence anymore. So it's the loans committee we have made reference to.
Well, Chairman, thank you very much. This has changed since it was brought to our attention by the auditor. Now we still have a committee without, of course, the internal auditor taking part in the proceedings. Thank you.
It is also mentioned that the internal audit department should report directly to the board audit committee. That's the query or concern raised by the auditor, and would like you to respond to that.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Chair, Honorable Chair, the new board is aware of this. Reports to the subcommittee, because there's a subcommittee for the finance and audit subcommittee, and the auditor will be submitting reports to the subcommittee, who will then report to the board. Thank you.
The internal audit also should develop risk register
Actually, a risk register has already been developed. Vis-a-vis the EIS, like the environmental impact assessment and other operation done by NRA. But since the audit raised the query, management has adjusted as per the recommendation. Thank you.
On finance, a number of lapses affecting the financial operation are: 1, variance analysis not prepared. What's your take on that?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. In fact, variance analysis were prepared, but not monthly. But since it was raised by the auditors, the accounts department are doing it now monthly, as requested by them. Thank you.
Not captured in the financial statements. Can you react to that?
Well, yeah. Again, we have since engaged the ministry to go around the whole country. Well, NRA came up with a list of all landed properties within its purview. And this has been shared with the Ministry of Lands, who, as I said, are also board members. And arrangements are being made to go out and, of course, physically survey all these properties with coordinates, of course, using GPS, so that, of course, we will be in a position to capture them in our books. And beyond that, we also want to proceed to make sure that these properties are leased, you know, and the documents are also given to NRA in terms of course, lease documentation. Thank you.
Supplementary quick, sir.
We can only include the value of the properties once it's clear that NRA owns them, because we can only get the value when we get the lease documents. So as things stand now, I mean, unless we get this lease document sorted out and the property value, we cannot include them in the financial statements. Thank you.
Okay. Well, if I may go further, Chairman, some of these properties belong to the defunct Public Works Department. One case of course, one typical example would be the Mansakonko Yard. And of course, the camp we have in Bakau. They belong to the, of course, the defunct PWD. And we were trying to, and well, when PWD was abolished, the Ministry of Transport came up. So automatically, we thought the ownership was going to reside within the Ministry of Transport when NRA was not formed. So when NRA was formed in 2006, in fact, the camps were all road-related camps, if you look at them. Because in Bakau, it was for road maintenance purposes. In Mansakonko, it was also for road maintenance purposes. So we had a discussion with the ministry and said, these are all road-related properties. I think the ownership should come to NRA as opposed to the Ministry of Transport. It is true that the road portfolio was also part of the Ministry of Transport at the time. But then when, the split came in, we said, okay, fine, you are our parents' ministry, but we think the ownership of this land, since they were road-related properties, should be the National Roads Authority. So as somehow some dialogue was preceded until we came to the understanding that they have to be, of course, leased by the National Roads Authority for maintenance purposes. Remember, we are responsible for the road network of this country. and the roads are everywhere. So we require these camps, for future maintenance of roads. So this is what we pointed out to the ministry, and we came to an agreement that they should be leased by the National Roads Authority, so that they would be, of course, subsequently in our books henceforth. So this is the process that has started, and we are in collaboration, of course, as I said, with the Ministry of Lands, because it involves a lot of course, coordination, not in terms of the physical, but of course, we want to make sure that we use GPS trackers to make sure that all the four corners of these properties, wherever they may be, are captured, so that intrusion could be stopped at a later date. And the understanding is there, and we've started working with the Ministry of Lands, and I promise that by the time we come back here, we would have got something, with the Ministry of Lands to make sure that, of course, they reflect in our books as well. Thank you.
The committee also noted that
Honorable Chair, thank you very much. Constructing and maintaining roads. We are not really into these billboards were just given to us, like that, and we couldn't really say no. But since then we have been trying to adjust to make things to collect debts as we go along, and the debts that we have not collected, the billboards, we made sure we took them down, and the advertisements on the street posts, we also made sure we removed them. Thank you.
Well, as he said, our responsibility differs from, most stakeholders. And some of these issues we were not expected, then when we came to being. As, depending on, of course, our line of business. But since, we realized that at one point in time, we may be found wanting, as pointed out here by the auditors, I think henceforth, we will be careful and make sure we come up with policies dealing with not only write-offs, but any other business that is within our purview. So I would want to stress that we will also make sure that we have a write-off policy for our dealings, as pointed out by the auditor as a key recommendation herein, so that, of course, it will not appear in future, of course, transactions regarding the business we are mandated to do. We'll take note and we'll make sure, not only for that, but for all the points you happen to come up with, to make sure that, we take heed and really address ourselves as we move on. Life is a transition. You will not be able to capture most of the issues from the road crew. As we learn, as we move on, and as things, as we are exposed to some of the situations, this is how we operate, and really it's not deliberate, but we want to assure you that we will definitely heed to the recommendations as pointed out by the auditor here. Thank you.
Very much. I just wanted to add, in terms of the write-offs, at least at the level of the board, there has been some improvements in terms of the write-offs, because in the case of, for example, Capri, the management has actually come up with a board paper and justification and supporting documents, because Capri is one of those companies that were doing construction here some years ago, but they have since then left the country, or I don't know, they have disappeared from the landscape with a lot of debts to government and other institutions. And so basically, they have come with a board paper on this on COPRI, and that, as far as COPRI is concerned, I know that a little bit about that has been taken care of. But going back to the issue about the policy, this provisioning policy, which is actually the central key to that, I think we need to look at the finance manual. I'm not sure about the details, but I think if it's not there, we need to actually ensure that the finance manual is updated or upgraded, amended, so that the issue of provisioning or the provisioning policy on bad debts is clearly spelled out in the manual. I think it's something that we need to look at together with the finance department. I think that's the key issue that is actually in here. And then from that policy, of course, we can go along to look at some of these bad debts. But I know that at least for a start, the issue of COPRI, which is one of the biggest, I suppose, the largest debts on NRA books, has been taken care of. I just wanted to add that, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
The committee also noted that the auditor also noted as a concern that there is no documentary evidence to show follow-ups being carried to recover outstanding debts. What's your take on that?
Maybe not. Reports, and we are very persistent in most of the times, trying to recover these debts. For that, NRA in fact went further to establish a marketing unit for this purpose, equipped with vehicles and other facilities to make sure that these issues really become a thing of the past. When we started there, we had no business to do with, of course, marketing, because based on our line of business. But when we were given the portfolio to license billboards and use the proceeds for the maintenance of street lights, we were forced to establish a marketing unit manned with 3 people for this purpose. And of course, one of their responsibilities is that to, of course, to follow on our debtors and make sure monies are collected for this reason.
Now that you noted that maybe not recorded, but you were doing so, can you please provide a list of the debt that you were collecting or recovering, and that you could not avail those records to the committee? So we would like that you will try to avail the list.
I think I would still refer you back to the issue of COPRI, and with that, I would refer you to the management letter, page 15. To understand you correctly, it's like you've agreed on it, and there's a management paper, which at the end of the day, the outstanding value of COPRI might be treated as a bad debt. Am I right to make that conclusion?
You are right, you are right. Yeah.
Okay, so the question would be, not to assume, but to be sure, whether normally you give advances to construction companies. For a matter of clarity, do you normally give advances to construction companies?
Of course, yes, for construction generally, yes, there is an advance. Of course, normally they will provide a bank guarantee to support the advance before any advances are paid. Normally, there's a bank guarantee that is submitted by the company before any funds are disbursed to the company.
Yeah.
Yes.
We know COPRI was since 2013, but there should be some institutional memory. Were they subjected to the same terms and conditions? They were, but yet still they defaulted. They defaulted. So what guarantees do we have that the advances we are given now are on a more secured level? Thank you, Chair. Yes.
Well, we make sure in any form, but we make sure that we go through the wordings to make sure that they reflect the purpose for which they are being submitted. That is one step when they are given. So normally we follow the GPP rule, make sure that the threshold of 20% is not exceeded. You know, that is the law. So we make sure the dates and of course the amount are, you know, in line with what the recommendations are given as far as the GPPA manuals are concerned. And also we are mindful, we keep on monitoring them, because this is something you can easily forget if you don't monitor them, the dates. Because you make sure whatever you do that, you know, that the dates remain valued up to the end of course, the contract. So these are some of the precautions we take and make sure they are continuously monitored, you know, not to fall on the other side, of course, regarding their validity, because it's important that, you know, these documents are valid, you know, up to the end of the contract.
So in the case of COPRI, I just want to remind the fact that not only have they defaulted with NRA, they defaulted also with their bank, and it's you probably know about Mega Bank, and you know that bank actually went under, and it has to be taken over by a settled bank. So for even to get our guarantee, for NRA to get our guarantee paid from by the bank, it was not possible because the bank itself actually went on defaulted. So I think in the case of COPRI, it was a very it was a serious, one of the extreme case actually. Normally, for all of these contracts, when the contract default, it is easy to just go to the bank, and the bank will immediately pay up. But in this case, actually, the bank accrued so much debts that actually the bank went underneath and actually the central bank had to take over the bank. So I think it's one of those, I suppose, rare cases where, you know, everything went wrong basically. But generally, it should be easy to. Normally, it will be easy to recover those.
Yes,
funds.
sorry, Chair. We even went further, because when this guy disappeared, he could not be seen. We reported the matter to the central bank, and the sheriff department got hold of the equipment he left behind. They were all taken to, you know, the airport at Yumbo. And most of these equipment were auctioned by government, and the proceeds were, I think, returned to to government. So we make sure that most of the equipment he left behind were attacked. And of course, finance also carried out an auction sale of some of those materials. In fact, we were asked if we were in a position then to use some of those materials, the equipment they left behind, for our purposes. We said no, because the maintenance burden may be too high for NRA. So we left them. So government, then the Ministry of Finance, I think, proceeded and carried out auction sales of all those materials.
Okay. If you look at the receivables, and we assume that COPRI is out of the way, still now there will be a significant value. The only two you are engaged in is the billboards, which came as a separate line item. So the residual value after knocking off the corporate value of 19 from the 86, the residual value does that also stand as advances for contracts? I'm referring you to the audited financial statement, page 25. Yes, page 25. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you very much. I mean, these are advances. And the wording is very clear. I mean, the bond does not expire until every butut is received by NRA. That is the wording there. These are recovered. These advances are recovered when the contractors put in certificates. Then we take every certificate. We make sure we remove 20% of the value of the certificate to go to refund that advance. So by the time the contract is completed, the advance is already recovered. It was not unfortunate that the corporate issue was definitely a one-off thing, and it was government that terminated the contract. So when government that terminated the contract, that was why all these problems came in about. But if the contracts were going on, definitely the advances would have been recovered. If you terminate the contract, arrest the guy and take his property, I mean, there's no way we could do. As an authority, we did exactly, we followed the correct procedure. The correct authority was the Ministry of Transport, and we made sure we took all the bonds. Then we removed the amount that was retained and submitted all these things to the conducting authority. So NRA did exactly what they were supposed to do.
Okay. Mr. Chair, we would like to know from the external auditor whether there was any Yes. Thank you.
External auditor.
Of the contracts of NRA for this road maintenance, they're usually within a 12 months lifespan to complete the road maintenance. So the whole amount is attributed to 2020.
Thank
you. Actually, the figure of 86 million is not only advances to contractors. The fuel levy, which was not received from the government of the Gambia as at end of year, is also part of that. The only amount referring to contractors there is 7 million. The difference is all due from the Ministry of Finance on the fuel levy, which was accrued for.
I think we just need to clarify here, because the question from the subject specialist is whether the amounts being mentioned here relates to 2020. I believe that was the question. Okay, I believe the answer is for completely, or has completely deviated. So I think you will just need to know the two answers given, my answer and then his.
Okay, thank you. Now we still continue with the management letter. The other area had to do with the staff personnel files not updated. We'd like you to respond to that.
Honorable Chair, good afternoon, and thank you for those to ensure that our records office updates all personal files, because it is very important to have personal files updated. A personal file should be a complete information, a biodata for an individual. Therefore, needs to have all the information from the starting of work to the retirement or to the end of the work of an individual. We have made some strides to improve on that, and we are challenging our records office to update all the files over the period of time that these queries have been raised. So we have been, we've been doing the updating of the files as from the complaints from the auditor.
And other issue is regarding the staff appraisal, that too is not done.
Yeah, at the time of the report, staff appraisal was not conducted. However, we have started a pilot study for some departments or units to be able to see how best or what approach are we going to use to appraise our staff. In fact, by the way, we are trying to improve our scheme of service as of now to be able to link them with our appraisal system. So a system has been developed and we're testing it. And hopefully by the next time we appear here, we would have reported a successful carry out of the appraisal of our staff. So something is being done.
The last point on the human resources is the issue of headcount between human resource and the finance department.
Yeah, we observe the need to have head count of our staff, although we know all our staff locations and their availability. However, with regards to the auditor's complaint or recommendation, we have taken steps to conduct regular head counts. He recommended a monthly head count, which we feel may be too monotonous or the resources may not be available to do head counts every month from here to Basse, because all our staff are from here to Basse. So we are doing a regular head count, which we think, which is quarterly, and then we think that will ensure that we know all our staff locations and issues surrounding our staff welfare within our divisions and all the postings that we have. So it is being done, not on a monthly basis.
Supplementary questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will refer you to the audit. With regards to the staff emoluments. Page 23.
No, from that's annex, annex. Honorable Chair, thank you very much.
Sorry, I first want to ask the external auditors. Yeah, the difference, was it an actual outflow of funds or does they have any implications? That is Appendix 1, page 23.
If you look at the column headings, and the third column is salary as per contract of employment, and you've seen the difference. So the difference are actually cash movements, as you have seen here, because the comparison of the actual payroll, what was paid out, and what is indicated in the contract of employment. So there are actual cash movements as well. It buttresses the importance of ensuring that the staff files are updated regularly, and to ensure that there's even more proper monitoring of payroll, because this is where the attention of people have to be brought in. Finance's rule, for every finance department has a rule just to assist in the payroll process. The HR department has the responsibility of authorizing payroll, to initiate it, and finance and audit to do the checks, and the final approval has to come from HR. And then on the issue of head counts, if you look at the employment cost, which is in excess of $33 million, which is the largest, the second largest cost, with the exception of their core activities maintenance, there is need for a monthly headcount report, whereby all departments will send through their directors list of all the employees that particular month, and then that will give the total headcount for the organization even before payroll starts, because this is to avoid ghost workers finding their way into the payroll. So I believe the head of HR there should remember that there is no cost element here. It's a matter of all the directors to send to a central location, which is the HR department, the actual staff or personnel in their directories that particular month before payroll starts. So therefore, when the draft payroll is completed, the total list in there should tally with the headcount that was sent earlier in the month as well.
Okay. Okay, then this one would go to the finance and admin director. Like, okay. What was the main reason for the discrepancy?
So I just wanted to add in terms of this issue of this discrepancy between the payroll and what is in the files, because this is one of the things that the auditor highlighted, and which HR talked about in terms of the updating of the staff files, because normally these discrepancies are mainly due to the fact that, annually they have pay increases, and also sometimes they have even promotions. But unfortunately, what has happened is that some of these files are not updated to reflect the fact that this particular employer have got a pay rise or has been promoted from being a manager to a senior manager, and that is the reason why I was saying that. This is what is causing this discrepancy, and this is what the exercise they are doing now to ensure that the staff files are being updated to take account of all the salary increase and also promotions as well. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Chair. The current updates, which are going to highlight the increments as per the payroll. I don't know whether my question is understood. If we can, to the HR, if we can have the current updates of those personal files, which would reflect the salary payments as per the payroll summary instead of the contract. If at all it was a promotion, we can have the promotional letter which will justify the increment between the summary and the initial contract for the underlisted staff.
Yeah, understood. Well understood. The issue of promotions normally appears on the P file. Records office may not put the letter in the P file, but when we do the letter, we copy the relevant department, audit, finance, and P file. At times, maybe the records office would miss that out, but we will be able to, from now on, to monitor the records office to ensure that every promotion or any issue relating to a particular staff is properly documented in their P files. However, on the issue of the annual increment, that is, unless you are under interdiction or under disciplinary actions, you have an automatic annual increment year in, year out, irrespective of whether you are promoted or not. If you are promoted, you'll have your promotion. But if you are not promoted, you have the right or the privilege to have an annual increment. And that doesn't normally appear in the P files. It's just adjusted by finance. Unless there is a query on the particular staff, then the increment can be stopped or suspended. But we don't normally write to staff. Even in central government, that doesn't happen. They just promote people. Or annual increment movement of
every grade.
Yeah, annual increment.
Okay. Honorable Chair, just a last intervention. But there must be a justification for it, not so? Vacuum. They premise their judgment based on what was availed to them. Whether it's your service scheme, whether it's your in-house policy, but there must be a justification. Because if there's no justification, imagine if you are not there today, tomorrow someone else comes in, how would the individual know that this is the organizational culture? So what we are saying is, can you provide us with that justification so that we can substantiate this? And know that the actual outflows which were done were in fact in accordance with the in-house policy.
There are two areas in which HR just lapsed, which could have been easily resolved. It is automatic for staff unless there is a serious issue for them not to receive an increment. The expectation behind the management letter point is that they should prepare an analysis sheet to indicate that all the staff of the authority, as at 1st of January, the total salary increment will be XYZ. So that amount, when checked against the payroll and the staff files, then the difference would be resolved by that analysis sheet. And the other bit is for HR just to be in the habit of reviewing the payroll before final payment. I think that would avoid a repetition of these two queries. So overall, there are lapses caused by lack of documentation, and certainly we need to highlight it to the management to ensure that the team is reminded of their duties of completeness. Thank you.
Policy and procedure that according to the auditor that was not available. Can you shed light on that?
These pedicast advances or salary advances taken from the pedicast, it was not a significant amount for some staff. Sometimes they will come and they will need 300, 500. You cannot be writing checks for 300, 500. But at the end of every month, we capture all these things and deduct it in their salaries. It is. Yes.
So I just want to say that when this issue was raised at the board, we have actually given instructions to management that salary advances should be stopped actually. So it's actually stopped now. Yes. I mean, so historically it's been was done, as I said, to give out $200 a day, $300, but actually we have now asked for them to stop completely giving out.
That's captured.
Yeah.
With what we've had, I don't think it's addressed yet. should not be paid out of the petty cash. That's one thing. But now the maintenance of the petty cash itself, saying $200 or $300 is giving here without documentation, that's not accurate, because at the end of the day, you need evidence as proof of those activities, and that evidence to show that they were approved in accordance with your internal procedures. So I think management and the board should definitely intervene in that, because the response we have is not encouraging.
No, we have a documentation on that. We have a petty cash voucher that you fill, and then you have 3 signatories: the prepared by, received by, and then approved by. We have all those things in place. Yeah, every petty cash that is giving, you must sign the voucher, the petty cash voucher before it is.
Okay, now as I said earlier on, we don't have much issue as far as finance is concerned, but however, we still have some points that we may ask for clarification on the aspect of finance. Honorable? Right. Those are the issues that we are asking. Okay. Yeah, while we were dealing with later, he was making those issues that he observed as far as finance is concerned. So that means we don't have much issues as far as National Road Authority is concerned. Nonetheless, I told him earlier on, when members stand in the plenary, almost all the members should be complaining about the road network in their respective constituencies. We don't have this road, we don't have this road, and all the time, the finance minister and the former works minister will be giving us big promises. Sometimes, or many a time, they'll tell us that that is under NRA, and NRA will not be on the floor to respond to those issues. In particular, I can recall the road from Brikama, Kabafita to Mandinali district is a very popular question I've been asking. And the road from Brikama via Kasakunda, Nyomfele to Gunjur, Busrani, that's Nyomfele, to Gunjur. These among certain roads were part of our supplementary appropriation bill that was approved by the National Assembly, that those roads should be constructed. This was way back in 2019. Since then, the foundation stones are not laid, let alone to start the construction. Anytime you ask the finance minister, he will refer us to National Road Authority. They are the ones responsible. They have fund for that. The chair, I would like to seize this opportunity. This is the avenue where you can also respond, because we have no voice at the plenary. The minister has been telling us that the fund is with you to construct those roads since 2019. Why are they pending?
Not looking to use this time. Anyway, I have the same
ask question, the Honorable Minister of Finance will tell us that that's under the purview of NRA. And that's why we are asking these questions.
That's, Honorable Chair, just on a general note, I think it's easy for finance to say that, but the problem is getting the fuel levy from finance is also a problem. so I think if the reminding me, actually they have actually reduced the amount of fuel levy that we are getting from yeah. So I think what the National Assembly members can, the honorable members can do, is also to highlight, or I don't know, to champion the cause of the national authority in making sure that the Minister of Finance restore the $3 per liter fuel levy tax that we used to enjoy from government. Because if we don't have that amount of money, if we're having less now, it means that we cannot do less, especially given the rises in material prices. So I think we will also want the support of the National Assembly members when the Minister of Finance is here, so that we can get more from the floor level on that. In terms of the specific routes, I think I will allow the Managing Director to talk.
Thank you, Chairman. Chair, you are right. You and I have been, on this for a very long time. Yes, during the supplementary appropriation bill, I think we discussed this, but the idea was then that Ministry of Transport will use some of those monies, that were being appropriated to deal with the other routes, and the rest, that's where NRA would come in to do. We haven't got to your area yet, but we've done something. As we speak, we've signed contract for Bani Saliken and Jabakunda. You remember it was part of it. And the other one, Madam, we have signed a contract for the road between Kunkujan Mariama, Banyaka, Madiana to Burfoot. And we are not only going to Gamtel, but we are also linking it with the OIC road, that is the road from Burfoot Gamtel to the graveyard in Burfoot, yes? Including the bridge you mentioned. We are going to build, I think, a 3-cell culvert. We know the problem people face normally crossing that swampy area. So the contract for this road has already been signed, Madam. It's signed. It's there. A year? I think about a year. Yes. You'll see something. It's just because of the rains, but you'll see some movements. I think the contract is... No. NRA is not in the business of that. Whenever people know, wherever we mobilize, we don't mobilize without the funds. We make sure that we have the funds in our account before we attempt to do anything. Gamtel, it's part of the to Swiftula, William Kamna to Ghana Town, it's part of the OIC routes. With the OIC routes, we are dealing with urban routes. They are all urban routes. Very difficult conditions. One, to do with relocation. Now we have to get rid of all the water pipes on the roads. Two, we have to get rid of all the Gamtel services. And in most areas, we are constrained, space-wise. We have to, appropriate some of the properties. So this is some of the challenges we are facing. But we are trying to do everything possible because we are of course, in engagement with NAWEC, Gamtel Water, Gamtel Electricity, and of course the Ministry of Lands regarding the properties. So it's a bit slow. I've moved there I passed there the other day, and I saw them even working at night. So please, let's be a bit patient. We know the problems. In fact, what we told them is to deal with the roads by sections. Because what they did for us was they excavated the whole stretch from Gamtel to the town. And this is rainy season. We know it can, prove to be a bit more difficult for people to cross over. So bear with us, Madam. We know the contractor is a bit slow. It's slow, not a bit slow, very slow. And we're trying to deal with them. If you look at the other road, which is P20, next to the Brusubi estate. They are also working on that one as well, Willinkama Garage. So we know the issues, and I hope that conclusion takes care of the question you have asked.
Okay, I think, yeah.
Not fully, actually, because I have another question that is the relocation. Gamtel to down to or any other site that you need to be that needs to be constructed. If there is any, will there be any compensation, or is if there is any that is already relocated or will be relocated later on, will there be any refund or implant, or is if it has already taken effect, were they compensated already?
I think for now this is why we have the Ministry of Lands to do the the valuations and to see what we can do. But nobody has been paid yet. Nobody has been paid. We have done the valuations, and of course false notices have been circulated. They've been served. That's what the law says. Inform people that their properties have been affected, and of course the procedures will be taken around by the Ministry of Lands, the Department of Lands, and we will take it from there. People will be notified in due course as to what actions need to be followed. Yes.
Finally, Mr. Chair, sorry, but will they be compensated before demolition their houses?
That's a great question. Well, if we want, I don't know, I have to consult with Lands on this, but then if we want the road construction, the road works to move fast, I think once the evaluations are done and
I think.
No, it's a short answer. I think we are responsible for all roads. No, area council is not the.
You also have question on road?
No, I just want to make some comments, or also to make because we understand nowadays along this Fonyi area, there is a lot of accident happening, and we understand in the provinces currently people are taking so many stuff, putting it on the highway, and I don't know whether they have that mandate to do it. So if that is the case, because right now there are a lot of accidents happening, so I don't know whether National Road Authority, you are working on how to at least address that. And also to though I'm not an expert to this, but like most of the highways, it's just that there is no paint lane. So, and I think it's very good to put that so that it can guide the drivers, especially those who normally travel in the night. So also, I don't know, these are all general things, because normally in the Gambia right now, if you live in the Combos, if you are coming to Banjul along this Westfield, you think about the traffic. When going home, you think about the traffic. So I don't know whether you are working on how to decongest the traffic so that people can have easy access, because at the end of the day, we are all coming to work, but because of traffic, sometimes it delays, and economically, it's not viable.
So this is what I want to know, and if you can update me about that, please. Thank you.
Road safety issues, people putting tires and logs on the highway. NRA is only responsible for the engineering of the road. The police are responsible for enforcement. If I want to go out in the street, of course, on some of those roads and try to remove those, they'll confront me because I'm not a uniform man. So it is the police who are responsible for the enforcement, enforce road safety rules, and of course the traffic regulation. It is for them. What people normally claim is to have homes everywhere, before, in the middle, and after every village. It cannot happen. We all know this. Roads are built for economic reasons. And for them to be able to, uphold this, movement has to happen. So what we do at NRA, we look at school zones where vulnerable people cross. At schools, at markets, and, where a number of people cross at, frequently and put homes. That's what we do. But if you go to some of those villages, they will want one before, in the middle, and one after. So the economic purpose for the road, because we all travel from here to Buffy, and we want to get there within a given time, not for a whole day. So really, the economic reason, as I said, of building roads must really be upheld. So this is what it is, yes. The other thing, Chairman, sorry. Road marking, yes, we are aware of this and we're trying to improve to see what we can do. But regarding congestion, this is why we've chosen these urban roads being built under the OIC. One key road is your road, the Building Highway, the Marsengela, I can name them. And I can tell you that once these roads are built and open to traffic, you'll see a lot of improvement, including the Battle Harding Highway. Of course, you'll see a lot of improvement in the flow of traffic. So again, we plead to the public to bear with us, to see these projects through. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Now, on the collection at the Senegambia Bridge Toll collection 2019 and 2020, and figures were in Dalasi and CFA. Whether they are different amounts or the CFA is an equivalent of the Dalasi amount, I want you to clarify. And then the second question on that is, who are the collecting authorities in that brick toll?
Well, thank you very much, Chairman. We were given instruction that collections will start, because what government does not want is to allow people to cross freely and then stop at a later date and ask them to pay. So we came up, we were there, ferries were collecting, and we were also checking traffic. NRA, we were together with them, but ferries were collecting the monies. In SEFA and of course in Dalasi, because that is the tariff we found on the spot. That is what was there when even ferries were applying. So we never changed anything. Even the tariff we use up till now, it's the tariff of the ferries. But down the line, we were asked to stop and Accountant General to take over. So now Accountant General is the one doing the collections. Our responsibility was just to build the bridge, and of course the toll facilities which they are now using. But before, vehicles were weighed, heavy vehicles were weighed at weighing facilities belonging to ferries, and then of course that's where the payments were done. NRA's role was just to make sure we count, we check the traffic, make sure that the movement takes place in the way it's supposed to be, because our agreement, the agreement we had with the African Development Bank was that NRA was going to remain there, do the collections, and use that money as part of the road fund, because this is what pertains in most countries. But that, of course, down the line, that did not happen. We were asked to leave, and we were also forced. I think NRA employed about 20-something people, 31 to mount, to, collaborate with ferries to make sure, all based on the fact that we were hoping that we will continue the operations. Because in most countries, all monies become part of the road fund. It supplements the fuel levy. That's because our only source of funding for road maintenance and some of the constructions we are doing is the fuel levy. We were hoping that once the bridge was completed, we were going to be allowed to collect the funds and, of course, make use of the funds, by, of course, constructing and maintaining more roads in this country. And the bridge, of course, because it's a heavy structure. At one point, it will require a lot of maintenance, we all know. But that did not happen. So the equation is that now it is Accountant General who is responsible for the collections and not NRA and ferries. I think.
Thank you, Director General, for that. When did you stop the collection? Okay, when did as legal tenders?
Yes, because this was.
I just want to draw something to your attention. That is what the central bank have said, and pursuant to their debt, provision, I think it is illegal to make any collections in any other tender different from the legacy. So who is responsible now?
Accountant General.
Accountant General.
Yes.
Chairman, I would like to with the provisions of...
Well, I think ways are being developed. Of course, arrangements are being made to change this, and also to is there still belong.
The fact is, it is being clear that the legal tender in the country is Dallas. So allowing any other Okay, I will just refer you to the activity point. Get from Senegal, and many a times when the demand for it is high in Senegal, you do have shortages, and that normally affects your price of products. But fortunately, in your activity report under recommendations, you've highlighted 2 points. One is on the aspect of training, and the one is on the component, the training component, which is Roman figure 1, and Roman figure 3 is the beefing up of your research and development unit so that NRA can start using local materials. One, to improve on its viability, and 2, to reduce the cost of maintenance. So how far have you gone with the 2?
Well, thank you very much. This is our... you have to go through the phases, and this is our intention. We know how much we suffer in terms of prices of raw materials, because for concrete works, mostly we depend on basalt if you want to get the strength required. And basalt is not readily available in this country, as we all know. So we want to carry out intensive research on some of the laterites we have, not around the greater Banjul area, but somewhere in the basins, the Fatotos, you know, to see whether we have not only the material that would pass our specifications in terms of strength, but also in terms of volume. Because this is something we look at. Before you dig a quarry, excavate, you have to make sure that the thing is there. Before you be able to mine a diamond or whatever, you need to be assured of the quantity that is in the soil. So that's the approach we want to take. Gradually, we have a soils lab, and we want to expand this to see how best we can commence this, so that maybe, if not our time, but in the near future, Gambia will be in a position to rely on some of its own materials for road construction and maintenance, and of course building works.
The Auditor General and the committee clerks, we've come to the end of the sitting. Intensively, we have asked the relevant concerns that were highlighted in the report by the auditor, external auditor, and adequately NRA officials have responded to those concerns. Equally, we note that, as you have indicated, that you will or you have already adjusted in some of those concerns, we maintain the momentum. On that note, I want to put to the committee, having gone through the report and having availed the opportunity for NRA to respond to the concerns that were highlighted, can we move that we adopt the report? And in doing so, that is at the level of this committee. The committee is also obliged to final report to the plenary for the final adoption by the entire members of the National Assembly. And whatever recommendations that will be embedded and passed, that is for this committee and the line ministry to ensure the implementation of those recommendations. To that, can somebody move that we adopt this report that we have just concluded? Which was not available yesterday, to also make available their report to the committee regarding NRA 2020 report.
Thank you, Honorable. Just want to report that compliance review to this August gathering or committee. I don't want to preempt the compliance level. In fact, I cannot. That will be subjected to verification after that NRA has been subjecting all their transactions, the prior reviews for our review. before they conduct any transaction. And likewise, they have been submitting their monthly reports. That where they report on their on their single sources and RFQs, requests for quotations, that we are not subjected for our prior reviews. So what I am saying is, I'm not saying that they will be fully compliant, but then that will be determined by our exercise that is currently going on. But they have been conforming to most of our rules. Thank you.
They submitted their 2017, 18, and 19, which were reviewed and then referred to them for the management's response, and that they were scheduled for 2019 and 2020. In the case of NRA, you have not said anything on that.
We have our technical teams on the ground. And when I was coming, I was fully or reliably informed that the audit exercise is currently going on. But they have not made any mention of 2017, 18, 19. And I'm quite sure that that was submitted and reported. I'm quite sure of that. That is the reason why it was not mentioned. But right now, 2020 and 21 are ongoing. So I'm quite sure that I will confirm from when I go back from our records, but I'm quite sure that 2017, 18, and 19 must have been submitted and even presented.
Can you clarify?
I can confirm that the audit for 2017, 18, 19 has already been done. The report that they are auditing this year, the one that they're doing is for 2020 and 2021. We have been up to date up to 2019.
That means you only have 2020 pending?
Yes.
Okay. On that note, can we go back to the motion? Can somebody move that we consider and adopt the NRA report 2020?
Like the report, the statement, subject to the adoption.
Consider and adopt it.
Yes, consider.
Yes, seconder. It has been moved and seconded that the committee, that is Finance and Public Accounts Committee, consider and adopt the NRA report 2020, subject to the adoption by the plenary. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. On that note, we thank you so much. That is official from NRA, honorable members, the Auditor General, the clerks, as well as